David Pym wrote a book called Mathematically Speaking, which I thought was a lovely title, quite a while ago, where he studied the language around mathematics over the decades, and all the math problems when our country first started were basically about war and the trajectory of guns and all the ballistics and things like that. Well, when you think of who was engaged in mathematics study at that time, it was wealthy, young European white men, and very few women were involved in mathematics at that time. And so that context made perfect sense for them. Now that we have, fortunately, a much broader range of people involved, we need to keep the context of mathematics rich and alive and not just have it in baseball statistics, which is appealing to some girls as well as some boys. But I think many of the contexts that we traditionally use to teach mathematics aren't necessarily as appealing for one group as another group. And I think, again, that's where if you're asking kids, what's your question? What are you curious about? Then you're increasing the chance that you'll land on something that is of interest to all the kids in the room, or more kids in the room, than if you as teacher, or using the textbook, if you're just marching through a text, or if you're just drawing on your own interests.
I had an 8th grader a couple of years ago. She's now a 10th grader, and she was really interested in sheep. She raises sheep for 4-H. She does, she's been shearing them since she was 8. She owns them, she sells them, she breeds them, she writes down all the information about them. And she had noticed that there's this weird thing that happens where the sheep get their eyelid inverts and the eyelashes scratch the eye, and it's an irritating thing. It's not going to make any difference with the quality of the meat, but it's one of those things that's an undesirable trait. And she was passionate. She had the question. She looked up some stuff. I looked up some stuff, trying to figure out about what it was called and what gene it was that passed it along. And she figured out, by doing a whole family tree, a pedigree of her flock, which of her rams was passing it on.
In inquiry, you really need to look at the product that the student produces and assess that, the presentation of their knowledge, and that can happen in a variety of ways. Demonstrations, stand and deliver, even drama, plays. However the student chooses to share and communicate what they've learned through the inquiry experience. And out of that then comes they can demonstrate their understanding of the content that you intended that they've learned, as well as the inquiry process.
Well, one of the things that this country has been known for is in science and math, we're still a very respected country. People still flock here to go to graduate school in those areas because we're innovative, we're creative, we have a high level of inventiveness. Those are the somewhat intangible outcomes of promoting inquiry, as well as the content that's learned from engaging in inquiry. And I think those are hard to measure on a paper and pencil type test.
Anymore.